Been months since I've seen another human soul. All of us miners down there, we aren't human anymore.
Don't open. Milk inside. Welcome to video games.
Video games.
Welcome to video games. This week, it's not a podcast. We're just video games now.
Are we the American version of Joe Video? Because isn't Joe Video just video games?
They are, yeah. This is the video games takeover.
Yeah, we have actually been contacted by Mr. and Mrs. Joe Video themselves.
Joe, yeah.
Joe and Joe. And they like the cut of our jib and like, hey, be the American Joe Video. Go for it.
Yeah, so we're sponsored by Joe Video now. And also Skittles, as it turns out.
Oh.
Taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. If you want to get a cavity, eat some Skittles.
Hey, I agree. But also those delicious little chunkers are really good.
So yes, that was me just giving you a surprise of our third endorser, which is the American Dental Association.
Oh, wow. Real conflict of interest, I will say.
So, you know, we play both sides so that we always come out on top.
Yeah, brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. Go to the dentist.
No, Chase. Just eat Skittles and don't brush your teeth.
Oh.
That's the joke. Come on, Chase.
See, I thought we had just like conflicting sponsors who wanted different things, and we said just get down in the muck. Y'all can compete. But what you're saying is that big tooth is paying us to say yes, eat Skittles as much as you want.
Yeah, did you know actually that there was a recent study that showed that Skittles are actually really good at cleaning the gunk between your teeth because they're so sticky?
I also heard they make you taller and hotter.
That too.
Seems like a pretty bold claim, but here on Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
My name is David.
We believe that.
We believe they said, hey, do you want to look like a character from Hades? Eat Skittles.
Eat Skittles. These delicious little guys will get you there.
Because you'll end up in hell.
Wow, nice. Get wrecked, Skittles.
Get wrecked, Skittles. No, Skittles is good. Everything in moderation, right?
Yeah, just don't eat like 100 packs unless you want to go to the dentist, in which case I suggest you really go to the dentist.
Yeah, just go. If you're thinking, should I go to the dentist? The answer is almost always yes, you should go to the dentist.
That was not a paid part of the show. That's just like normal advice.
This is just normal advice from two adult men.
Thanks, Big Two. I'm expecting my check in the mail.
You. They've taken away the drill from the back of my head, and now we're safe. We're good. They left.
They took the big tooth away from behind mine. What were they planning on doing to yours?
They're just gonna drill me a little bit. I don't know.
Wow. I think they were planning on chomping me. Which
they're just gonna give you the big chomp.
The big chomp, yeah. I was a little frightened about that one.
How big was this tooth? Was it just one tooth?
Comically large, yeah. It's just one, so I don't know that there's a lot of like traction you can get on the bottom.
Is that even a chomp then, if there's just one tooth? Or is that just a
sort of a strike, yeah.
A strike. It's a colossal sword from Elden Ring.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a dragon's tooth in Elden Ring. Hey, have you been playing video games?
I have been playing video games.
Could you tell me about which ones you're playing, David, please?
Yeah, so we had some friends visiting this weekend. It's a couple friend.
Okay.
And the guy comes in. He's like, oh my God, you have a PlayStation 5. Can we check it out, my guy? Because he's never even seen one in reality.
Wow, nice.
Even after 2 years of it being in the wild, they're still so rare. I forget that. I take it for granted.
I do too.
My own 1%. It's my 1% moment.
Sometimes people will walk in my house and be like, what is that? Because it's pretty unsightly, if I'm being honest, but it is rare. Like, I feel like you can kind of clock what an Xbox looks like.
Yeah.
But like that big, strange looking box.
It's unsightly. It demands to be looked at, and it's massive. It really does. It's big. It is a big thing. You can't not see it if you look at if it's just out. You know? So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's take you on a little tour of the PlayStation, see what's good. So I showed him a little bit of Elden Ring. So I was like, this is a good one. It was a little embarrassing because I forgot that the last place that I apparently saved the game, I was only in my loincloth in a giant arena with nothing else around me. I was just hanging out there with my long old hair as Robert Baratheon,
just duding
out in an empty old Colosseum where I felled an ancient dragon lord. So that was interesting. But so I just kind of mucked around and showed him that game. That was fun. Showed him Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Nice,
because he's very interested in the Spider-Man games. I was like, check this out. He was very impressed by the graphics. It was fun to like experience him experiencing it.
For sure. Yeah. I love whenever I can have like the secondhand experience of someone like seeing a cool video game for the first time.
Exactly. And like not just a cool video game, but like the console itself. He's like asking about the haptic feedback on the PS5 control. I'm just like, it's nice. It's nice. Not a game changer, but it's nice. It's very nice.
It does feel good.
It does feel good. So it was cool to watch him just kind of go through the first couple levels of that, because it is just a cinematic game. It's just so easy to watch as well. Which is fun. We did have to wait for that to recopy to my PS5 because I had deleted it because it takes a lot of space. So in the meantime, I was like, hey, why don't you start playing Resident Evil 7?
A little detour to Spooksville.
A little detour to Spooksville. That game is spooky.
It's very frightening, yeah.
We played it. We like kind of switched back and forth playing it.
Yeah.
Man, I forgot the change in tone with the first person view.
For sure, yeah.
Wow. It really grabs you in a very different and intense way.
Yeah, you're much more in the front seat than when it's the third person sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was fun just going back and forth and being like, okay, I'm too scared, you play. Like, okay, no, I've had enough, you play.
My brain is failing me. Have you played Resident Evil 7?
I haven't.
Okay, so this is your first time through it.
I played the demo, which was a good demo, by the way, because it was about these like ghost hunter type people.
Yes,
that you then learn their fates in the beginning of this game. I was like, oh yeah, I remember these guys. I was like, because it felt weird. I was like, oh, I thought it was just the first level, but no, it's totally something totally different, which I always like for a demo. Like, oh, you went out of your way to actually make something unique for the demo as opposed to just give me the first level. I think that's cool, especially if they tie it into the game. So that was fun.
And just to be clear, I always get these confused. 7 is not Village. 7 is the
Biohazard.
The sort of, it's like kind of the reboot that they did.
Yes, the soft 6. Reboot after 6, going back more to a survival horror game as opposed to an action adventure game.
Yes, yeah.
Which I like. I like the slower pace. I like the more intimate, smaller setting of just like this fucked up Louisiana compound where shit's just nasty. There's just nasty
things.
It's
just so gross and sticky everywhere.
And grody, and there's maggots and there's goo. Just
lots of goo.
Just, where does this goo come from? Like, who has so much goo around? Is this just like a Louisiana like humidity thing? Like, I just don't get it, being from California, that we just don't have as much goo laying around.
It's not a dry heat, it's a goo heat. It's just real gooey.
It's real gooey out. Yeah, it's just a very visceral experience playing this game. Real quick spoilers, the part where you just like murder your wife in the very beginning of the game, it's
wild. Yeah,
fucked up. And then she like turns back to normal, because remember, it's more that you defend yourself because she starts becoming a zombie.
Yeah, she's turning and you have to like not die.
It's brutal. And then she like rings herself up those stairs at you. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, it's very frightening.
She's like hissing and shit.
Oh,
yeah, that part was intense. Yeah, but they do a great job. And I kind of got flashbacks to, what was it? Oh god, that game with the scary cat.
Breakdown?
Breakdown. Yes, I was getting Breakdown vibes of just first-person horror. Not many games do that. Breakdown, and then what's that?
Condemned?
Yes. You know me so well, baby.
We've been doing the show for a while.
We've been doing the show for a while. You finished my
thought? Sandwiches.
I was going to say sandwiches. You got there. Sure. You got there. That was a silver medal. But yeah, no, it's a genre that is very fun, very unique. And I think I've said this before on the pod, but there's something about a scary video game that scares me more than any scary movie or book or pretty much any other medium could do. For sure. Just the way that it engrosses me, especially if I'm wearing headphones. Ooh, baby.
It's like almost too much sometimes with that stuff.
I have to do it in doses. Like, I can't just binge a Resident Evil game for like hours. I can do like hour top. And that's like if it's been a little bit of a lull. Yeah. But I need time to like regroup and recuperate after a really scary part, you know? It just takes it out of you.
I feel like that the first, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 hours of that game, I think, are just like some exquisite scary game. I think I talked about this on the pod a while back, that like I think the second, I don't know if half, but like the last third of the game, I think kind of like in very typical Resident Evil fashion, kind of ditches a little bit of the horror and just kind of turns into like shoot a bunch of dudes and get out before something explodes, which I don't think it's like a betrayal of their formula. Like I think they do that pretty regularly, but I think compared to like that first 2 or 3 hours where you roll up on, what's the name of the family?
Baker.
Yeah, the Bakers. You roll up on the Baker estate and like that's frightening. The sequence where you're playing as the ghost hunters is terrifying, especially because like when you're playing the game, I feel like it's kind of like understood, like my main character is not going to die.
Yeah.
You know, but like when you're in that kind of tangential section with the ghost hunters, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen to these guys. And honestly, probably not something good. So like it's that much scarier because you know something bad is coming.
It was definitely something bad that happened to them.
It is. Yeah. And so that up through Mia being like infected, having to defend yourself, and then eventually getting captured by Jack is like all just so scary.
And just saying, we gotta go. Daddy's coming.
So frightening.
I hate it.
So frightening.
I hate it. Also, just like laying down on a cot and being like, it's okay. We're going to be a family now.
All that sort of stuff. I think they just do such a good job of it being this like visceral horror experience where like clearly visually things are wrong. Like there's like the dead crows hanging outside the house and shit like that. Yeah. And, like all the goo.
Yes.
And then, like you said, yeah, like Mia is in such a weird mental state that is also frightening. Of like, you're like, I don't like, what is happening to you? I don't understand like why you're acting this way.
Yeah.
Which is also very scary. So like, it's just a very, very good first couple hours. I think it's a great return to form, like as a series.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think they nailed that. Cause like I played 6 recently. It's on like one of the streaming services for, you know, PlayStation or something.
Yeah.
Kind of bad. Like not a very good Resident Evil game.
Yeah. I remember playing 5 and like, and I just come off the high of Resident Evil 4, which
yeah.
By the way, that remake, I'm gonna play
looking good
that so
looking good.
Fast. Wow,
yeah.
I'm so excited. But yeah, like it just went too far action, and it loses itself when it just goes to action, because there's other action games that are better at being action games than Resident Evil, right? The people are there for the spooks, in my opinion at least. You know,
it's always toying, I think, with that equation of like how much action can we get away with and still make it scary, because I think it has always been trying to toe that line of since the first one, right? And I think it follows a pretty similar formula a lot of the time of like the first half of the game is pretty scary, and then you get to, I don't know, a metal facility where they're testing the T-virus, and like it's still frightening, but in a different way.
Yes.
That's a very similar concept for like most of the Resident Evil games, but I think it was interesting that they tried to just go with the action route and see like, is this something that's good? And like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it really is not a Resident Evil game in the traditional sense. And so I think to come back in 7 with that much of a splash and to nail it that well with like, this is fucking scary. This part of the game is frightening.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really good call. And like, I don't know. I just think it was great. I like didn't love the entire Resident Evil 7, but I think like that part of the game is just astounding.
Yeah. I'm excited to play more. Like it's, and I think also what makes it so good, and this is something that I definitely see callbacks to Resident Evil 4 with, is the mystery of what is going on. It just plunks you down into this situation, and you have no idea. And honestly, that is maybe the scariest part of it. It's just the confusion. Like, I'm here. I don't know what's going on. So I don't know. I can't predict anything of what's going to happen around any corner, how things are going to attack me or want to hurt me, or if they are going to want to hurt me. So it's just the confusion of the first couple of hours of a Resident Evil game really heighten the fear factor, starring Joe Rogan. So yeah,
and Ludacris, just to be fair.
And Ludacris?
Ludacris hosted Fear Factor for a while.
No.
Yes.
We got so many hits in the Ludacris catalog. It only grows. Oh my gosh. What a man. What a man. Good for Ludacris. Good for Ludacris. But yeah, I'm excited to play more. I feel like Resident Evil does a good job of not being like too scary though. Because there are some video games where it's just like, I can't I can't take this.
I can't get over the line.
Can't take it. Whereas there's just enough campiness in a Resident Evil game. It's just like, okay, we're good. We're good still. This is still a video game. This isn't real life. This isn't my body.
Yeah.
We're chilling.
I think it does a great job of like ebbing and flowing between being very, very scary and like, this is kind of a safe spot, or like, I know I'm safe in this space or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not constantly just fucking with you in the way that I know that like some horror games do. So it's nice that it gives you a breather sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And last game I've been playing, still Madden.
Still Madden.
I went back.
Did you beat the Eagles?
I beat the Eagles.
Hell yeah.
So apparently it saved my game.
Oh, wow. The heel turn back to hero turn.
It gave me a little thing. It's like, we lost it all. It's all gone. Sorry. And then I load it back up and just like, maybe they just do that to be on the safe side. It's like a corporate thing of like, oh, we lost it. And then when they don't, it's like, ooh, yay, that's nice. And it was that. So I still had my five tutter game.
Wow.
And then we went on to win the Super Bowl, my rookie season.
Yeah.
I played.
David won a Super Bowl.
Did you know there's like every single cable network has its own football theme song, and they all sound pretty much indistinguishable from each other? Yeah. It's always like big like orchestral brass
horns and shit. Yeah.
Brass and drums, and that's about it. It's so weird.
I do know this, unfortunately enough, because whenever I try to go find the clips of football music to put in the episode, I run into a lot of them.
You're like, which one was he doing? Fox? Yeah. CBS? NBC?
Is it Monday Night Football or is it Sunday?
Is this ESPN? I don't even know if I did more than one in the bit that I was singing just now. But
sure.
I digress. Fun game. I feel like the last couple Madden games I've played, there has been a stark difference between the pro and all pro difficulties. All pro, I get my ass handed to me on the regs.
Sure.
Pro, the next level down, I'm throwing like 7 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I need something in between there because too much difficulty, it just feels a little unfair. It's like, okay, you just, because they have instant replay. I'm like, okay, I go back. There's literally nothing I could do.
Yeah, sure.
Like throw the ball away. Okay, I guess I just have to be more comfortable doing like 3 and outs, but that's lame, right?
Yeah.
At least let me move the chains a little bit.
Sure.
and especially in the face of the franchise mode, like you get put on a bad team, right? Because it's a team that drafts one of the first spots, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to actually feel like I'm on the Jets, you know?
Sorry, Jets.
Sorry, Jets fans, but I mean, you're not known for being, you know, the titans of the game right now.
Sure.
So there is a middle ground that I feel like they struggle to find with the difficulty in their game, which might be a hard task because so much of it is just, okay, how closely are we going to have the defense cover your players? Are we going to like look at what you called and just like leave a small opening somewhere? But for me, I just don't see there's too much of a difference. There's too much of a difference between two difficulty levels when there's 4 total actually. So yeah, I want just a little bit more difficult than where I'm at right now. I don't want to be setting passing records as a rookie. That seems wrong. But I also want to be semi-successful. Right?
Sure.
So it seems like a balancing act.
I think my solution generally with sports games that I'm not sure what the difficulty is to put it all the way at the bottom and just make myself like a god of sports, similar to the Wario the kicking machine in UFC.
Yes.
Where like I only made him a kick monster. A similar sort of thing here with like I would make a very bad proportioned person to play in the NFL. Like the shortest possible, the thinnest possible little guy you can make and just have him throw nothing but like 90-yard conversions. Because like the easy difficulty usually will let you get away with like the dumbest shit possible.
Yeah. Just like the height of someone like on the vulgar militia.
Yeah.
Just a tiny lad.
This is half-court Harry. He only shoots half-court shots.
Half-court Harry. Oh man, what a name. What a movie. Is that the sequel to Air Bud?
It is, yeah. They said that Half-Court Harry's not allowed to play.
Is Half-Court Harry a rabbit?
Yeah. He's definitely a rabbit who like he is barely able to like dribble the ball, but he can like roll it down a little bit and then his strong back legs shoot it, but it's usually too much and he's figured out that the only way for him to make points is at half court.
So when he shoots, does he have to turn around and look backwards and then kicks it back?
Like that. Yeah, like a donkey kick.
Donkey kick.
There's no rule that says a rabbit rabbit can't play basketball, David.
And then you could have Air Bud v Half Court Harry.
An unmovable object meets an unstoppable force.
Air Bud Civil War.
It's just the two of their fucking heads looking at each other.
It's just a golden retriever and a rabbit with a bunch of other dogs and animals that you've had other sports movies for, like the cat who plays football, the
Black Widow, and
the actual Black Widow.
Yeah, we got ScarJo for this one.
So it's like you were named after an animal, so you can your character can just be in this. You're fine. You too, Ant-Man. You're in.
You're in. Thanks, Paul.
Anything? Hey, sexiest man alive. Bring him in. But yeah, I'm still enjoying Madden. I feel like now that I've reached the top of the mountain, I will probably move on from this game soon. Yeah. But it's always fun just to go through and do their little franchise mode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's silly fun.
Yeah. It's football, maybe.
It's football. That's football, baby. What have you been playing, Chase?
I've been playing some video games. I'm going to talk about a few of them. Just also a quick programming note. David is going to be a jet setter pretty soon.
I am.
And so we are recording 2 episodes this week. I think we're going to talk, I might talk about some other video games. We may do another segment, who the fuck knows. Mm-hmm. But just to be clear, the episode that you're hearing now will come out at its regular time, but we're recording the one for next week in just a couple of days, our time.
Yeah.
So, yes. I don't know.
I will be in Ireland next week, so I will not be
David's
able to record.
Yeah, he's going to be a little busy, so we're recording, putting one in the backlog. So yeah. Anyway, point being, I'm splitting up my game talking a little bit this week. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you about 2 of them, maybe 3. I'll make a reference to 3. The first one, I'm still playing My Time at Sandrock. This is the life sim game that I brought up last week. It is in the My Time at series. It's like sort of a sequel, I guess, to My Time at Porsche. It is a life sim game where your main motivation is taking on these like contracts to build certain stuff for your town. You get paid for those things, and then by getting paid, you can get access to like more contracts and better things you can make and just better shit, right?
Things and shit.
You can go deeper into the quarry that you have unlocked, or go see what's up with like the spooky lizard folk who are living across the train tracks.
Wait, elaborate, please. You can't just say that and not elaborate.
Yeah, I hadn't really run into them until this week. After talking about it last week, there's just like lizard men on the other side of the train tracks, and like they're much higher level than I am. Oh. And they also have like crossbows. So whenever I go over there, I can fight a few of them, but I usually get my ass kicked. So I haven't really been able to figure out what they're doing over there.
You're right. That is spooky.
It's a little spooky. And I got a sword, and like some people have guns in this universe. So I feel like I'm pretty unequipped to go fight the lizards.
And you're a human and they're lizard people.
Just a regular human. Yeah. And there's lizard men.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's actually a game from the future about when the lizard men took over, led by Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes, exactly. So it's an interesting game. I'm still definitely enjoying it. I was last week talking about how like the tutorial was the hardest part to get through of My Time at Porsche, and that I was like hopeful that My Time at Sandrock would improve on that, and it does. It gets you through the tutorial pretty quickly and like gives you the information that you need without it being just like a mountain of text boxes that I don't understand. Which is nice. It's nice to be able to kind of get into the loop without having to like really dig deep into like what are the mechanics of this video game.
Yeah,
you kind of just learn them by doing. So that's cool. I think it's as expected. I like the progression of do contracts to make bigger contracts to get a better pickaxe to get a dew collector.
Right up your alley.
You don't have to worry about your water supply quite as much and all that sort of stuff. So that's great. Like I said last week as well, the environmental design is phenomenal. I compared it last week to some of the Dragon Quest games, and I'm also realizing that this and Mega Man Legends and Dark Cloud all have sort of a similar cartoonishly bright vibe to them. And I didn't know that I knew that was something that I liked specifically, but I really do. Like whenever a game is just very concerned about making the space that you exist in feel kind of like cozy and warm and welcoming, that goes a long way with me. Mega Man Legends does that, Dragon Quest does that, Dark Cloud does that, and this game does it. I think all of the people in the town are really like fun and nice to run into whenever you're wandering around the town. The space is really nice to exist in. It's very like welcoming and cozy. And yeah, that just does a lot for me to like want to go back and like hang out. It's the open window in Persona 5 in summertime. I can put myself there. I can very physically, I can feel the temperature of this place and like know what it's like to exist there, which is great. There's also like a pretty, I wouldn't say heavy, but a present environmentalist message, which I like.
Good.
It's very much like there's this dude who wanders around the town and like, if you ever chop down a tree, he's like, dude, you just broke the fucking law. We can't chop down trees. Also, don't jump in the water supply. It's straight up illegal because like we do not have a lot of water and like our trees don't grow very often. So like don't fuck it up for us.
I mean, you're just describing where I live.
Santa Barbara, yes. Yes. No, it's actually
will find you if you jump in Lake Kachuma because that's what we drink from. You nasty boys and girls, get out of there.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like I've been thinking about like what a game communicates just like implicitly a lot recently. There's another game that I'm playing that I'll talk about in a second, like what it's saying just sort of by how the world works. And I think this one does a good job of communicating like a sustainability and environmentalist message just by like how the rules of the game operate, which is fun. Like you don't always see that in games specifically. So it's nice to kind of like have the ground rules of this space be like, we are trying to survive out here and you have to be very careful with like how we treat the environment, which is good. I like that. So yeah, I'm still playing it. There's not a lot else to say about it other than like, it's good. I'm having a good time. I feel like I talked about it a little bit more last week with like most of the initial thoughts. So if you're interested, check that out.
Cool.
The other game that I am playing is Dying Light 2, Stay Human.
Is this a scary game?
This is sort of a scary game.
Okay.
It's a zombie game.
Is this one where like there's one person who's a lot stronger than the others?
No. I think you're thinking of Dead by Daylight.
Ah, I am.
It's funny that you bring up Dead by Daylight. It took me a long time to find this game because I'm like, zombie game 2022 wasn't on there. Dying Dead zombie game. No, not on there. And like just digging through these lists of trying to find a very generic sounding zombie game. Where is the game?
The name is too generic.
Dying Light 2, Stay Human. I had heard, I think it was from Chris Plant on Besties, that like this game was flawed, but there are parts of it that were really good. And it sort of got like, this came out in February, so like Elden Ring was not far away. And sort of just got crushed by that game.
Just the hype of Elden Ring just lurking in the distance was too much for this game.
Very much. And like, I'll get into it in a second, but like, it is very much the Ubisoft model of open world games of like, here's a map and there's some things that you need to climb to the top of to unlock the map and unlock more stuff to do on the map.
More is more.
More is more approach to game design. And so like, I think if somebody was frustrated with that kind of game design, and Elden Ring was just coming out, you might be like, fuck this, I don't want to do this. It's also zombies. So like a very tried and true genre,
a lot of well-trodden paths in this game.
And so like I mostly just checked it out because I was like, I need something to play, and I'd heard Chris Plant at some point say like, yeah, this is pretty interesting and good. So I checked it out, and in this game you play as this dude named Aiden, just some kind of generic chode who is like wandering around I think it's Europe. I think it's supposed to be Europe. And he is played by a voice actor. I don't have him up next to me, but he's doing a very good Troy Baker impersonation.
Definitely played by a voice actor.
A voice actor. He's doing a very good impersonation of Troy Baker. I definitely thought it was Troy Baker when I was listening to it.
Really?
Which shocked to see that it wasn't.
Like Troy Baker being like Joel?
A little bit less like gruff Troy Baker. It just sounds like kind of his normal voice if you've ever heard what Troy sounds like. Yeah, he's doing a very good Troy. This character Aiden is this guy who I think it's called a pilgrim, which is somebody who travels between settlements in this world. Of course, it's a zombie game, so like the whole world is just totally zombified out and like bad, and like very few human settlements still exist. Like it's not like things are chill out here, and like there's still some cities. It's like most places don't exist anymore.
Damn.
But at the beginning of the game, he gets this information that he's like looking for his long lost sister Mia, and he gets some intel that somebody knows where she is, and this person lives in this city called Villador. So he travels to Villador, which is like this walled off city that has mostly been protected from like the outbreak. There's not that many compared to outside zombies. And there's still a lot of zombies in Villador, but like not the horde that,
man.
not enough to totally overrun the city.
Yeah.
Like, people can still have like settlements and shit.
Mm-hmm.
On the way there, you get bitten and infected.
Oh shit. Is this the same character from the first game?
No, different person.
Okay.
It takes 15 years. It takes place 15 years after the first game.
Did you play the first one?
I did not.
Okay.
I just looked up what happened in it, so I was
Gotcha.
understood what was going on. So, yeah, you show up there, and like initially, it's like not great because you got bit. But in this world, in this like zombified world, you can delay your like turning if you're in sunlight,
Okay.
or if you're in UV lamps.
No, sure.
Apparently, it is the UV rays that prevent you from turning into a zombie.
Good to know.
Good to know. Yeah, to tuck that one away for later.
Get bit, get lit.
Wow. Yeah, that's nice. It's good. Let's see. So essentially the game starts to play out in this cycle of like, there's a day-night cycle in the game. And whenever it's day, you're mostly fine. And when it's night, you have to manage your like infection meter, which is constantly sort of degrading until the point where like, you know, you die if you run out of time.
Well, you become a zombie.
Yeah, you undie. That's correct.
You die and then undie. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. So that's a whole thing. You essentially, to get into Villador, the city, you have to always have one of these like bracelets on that shows whether or not you were infected, because you show up to like this area of it after like kind of stumbling into the city, running away from this dude. It's sort of unimportant for the discussion here, but you're running away from somebody and like you run into this room, which is like a big bazaar, and people are like, oh, he doesn't have an indicator, let's hang him right now. And like they immediately string you up and like you're about to die and some dude like comes and saves you.
Damn.
Yeah, so like people are pretty like cutthroat here because like obviously if there's
the
just
apocalypse, right?
if there's just some dude who shows up, like no, like you might be infected, fuck this guy. So anyway, the game plays out in like story wise, you are trying to find Mia. There's a handful of different like factions that exist in this city, and you've got this like partner, I think his name is Harkon, who is taking you through like, you know, here's this group of people, here's where I exist, and here's where, you know, the friends that I have and all that sort of shit. Mm-hmm. He's helping you out sort of out of the goodness of his heart, but I sort of don't trust that. I think there's some other ulterior motive. That's all story stuff. This game is really bizarre. It is so uneven in ways that are kind of fun. Like in the beginning of the game, I say like the first hour or so, it wants to take itself very seriously. Like, you know, it's very like kind of trying to go after the tone of The Last of Us, where like, you know, shit's fucked out here and it's really brutal and hard to survive. And like you get into the game and like a mechanic that you are taught very quickly is how to block an attack, then jump on someone's head and drop kick the person next to them as a part of combat. Like that is a base part of combat, is drop kicking people after you jump on their head.
Like zombies or regular people?
Regular people. You do eventually get the ability to jump on zombies' heads and like run on them.
This isn't a regular person thing to do.
No, it's very weird.
Oh wait, do we need to sound the ludonarrative dissonance siren right now?
Yes, somebody ring light the torch of Gondor. So yeah, it is dissonant, right? Like between how the narrative is trying to communicate this like very serious tone, but how goofy the mechanics are. At first, I was not enjoying that. Like this game feels kind of disjointed and like not really that good because of the disjointedness. But eventually, it was like, actually, this is great because the voice acting is really weird. And once you get out of the parts where it's trying to take itself too seriously, is just goofy, and it's really, really fun. Sure. Because it's goofy, right? Like it feels like the NPC dialogue from like an Oblivion game or something like that. Where just like, what are these people saying? Why are they saying it like this? Like, if I am to buy into the idea that these are real human beings, these are not how the people I know speak, right?
These are robots, actually. These are lizard people.
Do you watch I Think You Should Leave? You ever see that show?
I don't think so.
It's on Netflix. The Tim Robinson show. No. They're like these very tiny little shorts. A lot of the dialogue feels like that. Where just, and I guess like without context, that doesn't make any sense. But like, it just feels like the person is playing a character that I don't really know what their deal is yet. Let me show you just like a clip of this side quest you get early on. Sure. Where you're wandering into a bazaar and like this dude, I think his name is Carlos, is like trying to give you a side quest. And he just sounds so like pathetic and sad in like a very funny way.
What's the problem?
Hey, aren't you the pilgrim they wanted to hang?
Man, you were in luck there. I could use some of that luck. I'm Alberto's apprentice. Not for long, probably.
Pause. What, dude? Like, why is this the way that you're introducing yourself? He's like, oh, you're the guy they wanted to hang. I'm a sad piece of shit. Nobody likes me. What? Continuing.
It's the third time I'm taking a shot at this test. If I fail again, Craftmaster Alberto's gonna kick me out.
What's this test about?
I have to design something useful for the citizens. I already invented underwater reading glasses for Alberto, then a retractable dog leash. But he kept jamming. And besides, we have no dogs here. All my ideas are worthless. Now is my last chance to prove that I am not worthless.
What the fuck is happening?
I mean, you invented a retractable dog leash without dogs and didn't work. And also underwater reading glasses? Maybe you should choose a different career, bro.
It's so weird. Like everything about this, the way it's performed, the content of it,
yeah,
like, it's
the voice
so
performance
bizarre.
was strange.
I don't know what he's trying to communicate. Like, actually, that's not true. I know he's trying to communicate that he is worried and pathetic, but it's coming off so weird.
It's like
the way that it's being performed.
Each sentence that he says has a different emotional tone. It switches each sentence. So it's very jilting, right?
Yeah, like I'm just not really sure what I'm supposed to be feeling at any given moment.
Yeah.
And that's true of almost all the dialogue in the game. Like there's in the first level you play, there's this dude who you run into who like supposedly is a friend of yours. And you're like walking through this old abandoned house that it looked like some people had like a party before the world ended or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And all of it's going kind of fine. And then at some point he comes through the door after you've been like looking around a room and kind of like reminiscing about the old world. And he's like, I think it's time for you and I to depart because I'm worried about you. And you know what they say about people when you're worrying about them. And then your character responds like that you should leave. And he's like, yeah. And then he runs into another room and just kind of hangs out still. Like he didn't leave.
Uh-huh.
Like that dialogue to me would suggest like things are weird between us and I'm going to get out of here before things are bad. But it's just sort of like a weird tonal shift.
That is strange.
In the way that you were saying, where it's just sort of tilted in a weird way where I'm not sure that like these things were recorded one right after the other. And anyway, point being, so like that all could feel, I think, bad. And for whatever reason it has crossed over the line to just feeling campy and funny in a way that is fun. It doesn't feel just like a poorly recorded thing. It feels like this whole world is weird and I just kind of have to like be on board with how bizarre.
You're just experiencing it.
And it makes it exciting because I'm like, what fucking bizarre person is going to come around the corner next to talk to me? Because like most of the voice acting here is really weird and sounds odd.
Yeah, what kind of monstrosity is going to try to speak to me next? Try to form human words with their mouth.
Yes, exactly. So like I kind of like that part of it unironically.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the stuff that is like actually very good is the parkour in this game.
There's parkour.
There is parkour. So like part of the conceit of the world is that like the zombies are oftentimes not out in mass in the daytime because of UV rays. They don't like it.
Are these fast or slow zombies?
Most of them are pretty slow.
Okay.
Like one-on-one in like a fight, they're not that threatening.
Sure.
But also because there are no guns in this universe, like it's been a long time since guns have existed. You mostly have like melee weapons. So like you kind of do have to get close to these people to like actually take them out. But one-on-one, just one zombie, not that big of a deal. But oftentimes you're dealing with like lots of them.
Sure.
And it becomes overwhelming. So like I was saying, the conceit of the world is that during the day, they're not out in mass. And so you can kind of run around and like run from them. But at nighttime, there's a lot of them and most of them are just on like the street level. And so you're encouraged implicitly to not be on street level, right? To run on the roofs of places and like jump on street lamps and shit like that.
Jump on people's heads, jump across their heads.
Exactly. It starts to feel adjacent to like an Assassin's Creed or even like Sly Cooper. It starts to feel like Jason Bourne. It starts to feel also like Sly Cooper, where you're like just kind of like hopping from one thing to another.
Sure.
In a way that's like genuinely pretty fun. I don't think it gets quite as close as something like Mirror's Edge. It's not quite as like perfect of a running simulator as Mirror's Edge, but like it's still really fun. And that translates over to like how the combat works too, where like I was saying, an early thing they teach you is how to block, and then the person is stunned, so you jump on their shoulders and go and like drop kick the person next to them. It's
beautiful,
visceral and silly and fun. Like I think they've designed like a really good combat system that I was surprised that it took them this long to like start highlighting it. The game takes a long time to get into the main loop of the game and the like combat parts. Again, I think that may just be the influence of Last of Us showing, where it's like we want to make a serious game.
Sure.
But I think the part that shines of this game is the ridiculous parkour stuff and the loop of like, you know, traversing this city rooftop to rooftop, which, like I said, it takes a while to get there. But once it does, I think it is actually pretty fun and brings something that isn't in all of the standard sort of like open world zombie stuff, where like traversal is really fun. The combat's really fun in a way that feels novel and not just like, oh, this is really good sword fighting.
Sure.
It feels pretty like urgent a lot of the time. Of course, there are different zombie types. So like if you get spotted by one of the guys who alerts all the zombies, like you got to run. And you know, a chase sequence will start where you have to build a deck building roguelike, and you have to like run away from the bad zombies.
Would that make you like this game more or less, Chase?
Probably more. I would definitely like it more if there was a deck building roguelike minigame.
Just a quick 10 cards. Real easy.
in and out. No problem. So yeah, I think that part is like pretty admirable, and I really like that part of the game. I think I agree with people when they say that this thing is uneven. It is. I was listening to the Press Start podcast, and they were joined by Emily Price, and she was talking about how she approaches like video game criticism, and how I think she was talking about like how the conversation of like are video games art has progressed over the years, and she was saying that like it's much less interesting to answer that question because like yes, obviously like video games are a medium for communication and like storytelling. Yes, they're art. But what specific parts of a video game are worth analyzing and worth considering if they are art or not? Because it feels kind of like that in this sort of game where like the whole thing isn't perfect, right? And isn't firing on every cylinder. I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 2 just in the background while preparing for that next episode of Metal Gear Solid 2 where we cover the whole game. And that game feels like every inch of it is like artistic and considered and shit like that. But this game, like parts of it feel like some of it are not boilerplate, but like things that have been done before. But parts of it aren't, right? Like I think the parkour is really interesting and like novel and taking from games that aren't a part of this genre. Something like Sly Cooper or something, like I said, of Mirror's Edge, where like those aren't part of the genre that this one is inhabiting. Or inhabiting rather. And so like what of those mechanics is it doing really well? And I think they've got this really cool situation that like the farther you get into the game, the more you are just like not touching the ground. Like the more you're like wall running and kicking off of people and, you know, doing like damn near double jumps and landing and rolling and then like jumping off somebody else. Like it feels really good. And so
you become a superhero.
Yeah, it's like superhero-y in a way that I haven't really seen a lot of in other games. And so I think that's like really novel and worth it. It's admirable. So yeah.
Cool.
This will all take me to my Podtimistic thing of the week, David.
Yeah. What is it?
It is wall running.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's a good one. I love a good wall run. It's in a lot of games.
What's the first game you wall ran in?
It had to be Prince of Persia, right?
I think it was Enter the Matrix for me.
Oh, really?
I don't know which one came out first though, but I feel like it was...
Wow, Enter the Matrix came out in May and Prince of Persia came out in October.
Oh,
damn, slipped right in there. Yeah, I feel like that was the first one I did. I'm sure there's some other game that did it, but like pretty inherently it needs to be a 3D game.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say you can maybe in like a 2D game and it had it, but it's not the same as in a 3D game.
Love a good wall run. It always feels good. Especially if they can get like the momentum right where you like kind of come up and then come back down. Ninja Gaiden had a good wall run too. Because you could like just keep going if you had enough walls around you.
Yeah, if you had enough space.
And this one has a good one. Obviously, Mirror's Edge, great wall run. All sorts of shit in there. Titanfall 2, phenomenal wall run.
That was a very solid wall run. Yeah. Top tier wall run.
Top tier. Anything that makes like use of traversal in a way where you can just like get to another spot if you weren't on a wall, way into that. Love that. David, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism this week?
I do.
What is it?
And it is co-oping a single player game.
Oh yeah, love this.
Love it.
Love this.
It was so nice to do that with my friend Doug this weekend. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It's a shared experience. It's fun to, especially with a scary game, to kind of like share the spookiness, because it's not nearly as scary when you're not the one actively playing, and it's also not as scary when there is someone else sharing in the spooks with you, and you can kind of like talk it out. So it's not just your inner monologue just freaking you out even more, right? So yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things that the communal aspect of games that I love.
Yeah.
Especially in-person communal, not just over the internet. It's a different beast altogether when you have somebody in the same room with you enjoying a game, the same way that you enjoy a game, and just being able to kind of nerd out over it and talk about the history of Resident Evil a little bit too. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, you and I have a history of doing the one-player trade.
Yes.
It's great. It's very fun. I like playing a game this way. I'm also a big fan of like just watching someone play a game. I think that's like very fun, especially if it's like not just like a Twitch streamer. It's like somebody you know.
Yeah.
It's great. They're just like fucking video games, man. They're good.
It's a shared experience. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
You're the whale shark. I'm the little sucker fish on the side cleaning you. Just let me experience what you experience, baby.
Unless, of course, it is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
Then you are in hell, Chase.
Then I'm in straight up hell.
And I am your tormentor.
Brutal.
Oh man, that was a fun time though. I wonder if I'd still be as bad at it now.
If we ever get into streaming, I know that's the first series that we'll have to do.
To be fair, there was also a lot of giggleweed involved on that one.
Giggleweed, yeah, that is true. That was sort of the era of giggleweed.
I was not at my most dexterous.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Or coherent. In those instances.
Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing, David?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Super Chandler Blade. Super Chandler Blade. Did you like that?
That was nice. Yeah, I liked that.
Thanks.
Hey, it's Good Games. It's the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gosh, all the things that we love about them. On a Genesis kick right now.
For sure.
We bought the Genesis collection that's on the Switch to play Fatal Labyrinth last week. And David was like, damn, you know what sounds cool is Super Thunderblade.
It's a great name.
It's a very good
it's
name.
It's a top tier name.
Hats off to Super Thunderblade, the sequel to Thunderblade.
Oh, that was original.
There is a Thunderblade.
The first game, Blade.
The Blade trilogy has really gone to some weird places.
You were actually Blade the vampire piloting that helicopter in this game.
Hey, can I hit you with some hot stats about this game?
Please, hit me, baby.
Hot stats. So hey, Super Thunderblade, it was released for the Sega Genesis in North America August 14th of 1989.
Ooh, it's an old one. Came out in Japan in 88 too. It was a launch title for the Sega Genesis, the Master Drive itself. Cool.
It was one of the earliest ones that had come out. It was developed by Sega. You may know some of their games. As we said last week, Sonko the Hedgehog, Buck Rogers, Planet of Zoom, Altered Beast, Yakuza, Fatal Labyrinth. Anybody? Fatal Labyrinth. It's also the sequel. AJ, thank you, AJ, for your suggestion. Sequel to Thunderblade, which I think was an arcade game. Yeah, very similar game by and large. I do have a review of Super Thunderblade from Joe Video. They're back in the mix. Yeah, I have taken their review, which was originally in French. I have run it through Google Translate a bunch of times, one language into the other, to properly mangle it and understand the true artistic intent of Google Translate. So let me now read for you what Joe Video had to say.
I like how it's the artistic integrity of Google that you're trying to discern here.
Yeah, the Alphabet brand is really a poetic monster.
I believe it.
So here's what Joe Video had to say. If Super Chandler wants to keep his past, many of our sticky arcade games might object. Change controllers, sticks lose interest, the scoreboard seems useless, the game is repetitive, the difficulty is too high, everything is tiring, everything is easy, everything is tiring, I am easy. If PlayStation 3D gamers are enjoying their experience, Space Harrier is back in time. 5 out of 10 from Joe Video on this one.
Man, they really made Joe Video have have a little bit of a fit there.
The middle section is particularly evocative in this one.
Very. I also like Super Chandler. It makes me think of Friends. Like, what would Super Chandler being look like?
I think it's just Super Chandler on this, or Chandler on the Super Nintendo. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Super Chandler, man.
I wish I watched enough Friends, or really any at all, to know of a reference for Chandler here, but I just really don't.
You never watched Friends?
I sort of did. And I feel like I've mentioned this on the show before, that Friends makes me like existentially frightened whenever I'm watching it.
Oh, that's right. That makes sense.
It makes me feel my own mortality slipping away from me. And I don't exactly know why.
That's the strangest interpretation of Friends I've ever heard.
It's a weird reaction to it. Because
this show was actually made by a Cthulhian horror and is slowly taking away my life.
It's not necessarily that the show itself is frightening or that like it's sucking the life out of me. I just feel the passage of time more acutely when I'm watching Friends.
Sure.
I understand that like I am just watching TV right now rather than living my life. Which is, again, a weird thing to feel because like we play video games all the time, and like video games oftentimes are just sort of passing time.
Yeah.
And enjoying it for sure. But like there's a lot of time spent in there. But a 22-minute episode of network television can't handle it.
So you're telling me you don't enjoy Friends?
I get like
Friends is not enjoyable enough for you to be like, this is an appropriate way for me to spend my free time.
It will get a chuckle out of me, but at no point am I like, whoa, I am fucking loving this right now.
Gotcha. I was about to say Super Chandler is probably the Chandler in the later seasons when he's very... not very overweight, but more overweight because he's doing a lot of drugs. That's probably Super Chandler.
Sure. Yeah. Shouts out to all my Friends fans who get that one.
Super Matthew Perry. Overcame his addictions. Good for him.
Wow. I'm just now realizing that I've been picturing Ross while I've been saying Super Chandler. I don't know my fucking ass from my elbow in this television program, David.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Very different characters, Chase.
Lord have mercy.
Both neurotic white boys, though. Both would be categorized as quirked up white boys, I think.
With a little bit of, quirked up white boys. Are they goated with the sauce, though?
I don't know if they're goated with the sauce. In my opinion, maybe Chandler more than Ross, but and like if they were actual people, probably neither of them.
I am feeling my life force draining, David. It is escaping my body.
Even just talking about Friends does it to you, huh?
It's too much.
That's fair.
It's like
That's fair.
The ending scene in Hercules where Hercules like dives into the pool of death. And he's turning into like the little shriveled soul.
Old and not glowing anymore. It's just sad.
Yeah, that is me talking.
You're losing your godhood while talking about Friends. I get it. I feel it. I feel it as well.
Could you explain to me what Super Thunderblade is, David?
Yeah, Super Thunderblade is a 16-bit?
I think so.
16-bit attack helicopter action game in the vein of like a Star Fox. So camera is behind you. You are going on a railed level with different enemies that come at you. You have to dodge their fire and you have to fire back at them. And there's bosses in each level as well. To break up the game a little bit, they do have kind of top-down sections at the end of each level where you go and like raid a base of some sort. And avoid the fire there. More like a ride-in type of game at that point. But yeah, that's about it. It's pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward. The game is pretty simple. It's not particularly challenging to conceptualize.
Yeah, not challenging to conceptualize, but to play.
Challenging to play.
But to play, my goodness.
The game is hard.
By golly, this game was a doozy.
It's really, really hard. This is one of the harder games I feel like we've played on the show.
It looked at my pro gamer card, my core gamer card, and just like scoffed at it and spat on it. And then just stared me down the whole time that I played it. This game does not fuck around at all. For 1 second, it does not fuck around. From the get-go, from level 1, it's like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Here you go. It
really doesn't hold anything back. I bumped there's a difficulty slider. I bumped it down to easy.
Same.
Still very hard.
I did beat the game, but only...
What?
No, do not praise me. I only beat the game because I used liberal use of the rewind function on the Sega Genesis emulator game that we were using. If you press LZ,
LZ, the like left trigger.
Yes, it'll rewind. So if you die, you just rewind.
Yeah.
And live to fly another day.
Yeah.
So if I had not, I was getting past the first level, but that was about it.
Yeah, for sure.
That second level was fucked up. Did you get to that one?
Yeah, the one like it's in the cave essentially.
With the stalagmites. Oh my god, dude, those things, the frame rate was so low that they would just be on you in a second.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do.
This is an interesting game. I have I wouldn't say mixed feelings about it, but there's like very high highs and very low lows in this game for me.
Same. When you are dodging all of the bullets and just acing a level, you feel like you are the Super Thunderblade god of this world.
I am the Super Thunderblade.
I am the Super Thunderblade. In this moment, I am euphoric. It feels like you can't be stopped when you are just dodging every last bullet and just blasting everybody, and you haven't died in a long time. That is a great feeling.
Great. Yeah,
that is a great feeling. I found that those were few and far between for me in this game.
Yeah. So like when I was trying to think about like what stuff about this game was worth like praising, honestly, I think the coolest thing about it is just that you're a fucking attack helicopter and you're just blowing dudes away.
There aren't a lot of attack helicopter video games.
There was a lot at the time, but there hasn't been a lot recently.
Yeah. I need an attack helicopter simulator.
Yeah, just like let me shoot some dudes with a helicopter. It's cool as fuck. You're also definitely not shooting bullets. They're like big fireballs that you're hurling at bad guys.
You're shooting energy blasts.
Yeah.
It's more like a Kai blast from Dragon Ball Z than anything else.
Yeah, definitely.
And your first two were like heat seekers and the rest aren't. It's weird.
At no point did I really grok how that worked. I just was shooting bad guys.
Pop, lock, and grok it.
Pop, lock, and grok it. So yeah, like I think that the part of it that has aged well is just like the tone of it is very silly and very fun. But it's hard for me to think of a game that doesn't do the behind a ship combat better than this.
Sure.
No, backwards. It is easy for me to think of a lot of games that do it better than
Okay, that's what I thought you meant.
Yes. Like just like put plainly, like the frame rate's kind of rough.
Yeah.
It goes pretty low. It's kind of hard to control the helicopter. It doesn't go up or down very quickly.
No, it takes a bit for... there's a definite input lag.
And so like it does feel a little sluggish. And so parts of it, like obviously there are games that have done this better. I think Star Fox is an easy one. I think Space Harrier and Afterburner are also in that list.
Yeah.
Also like two of those are Genesis games. So like, or Sega games rather. So it's hard not to think like, well, they've also done this better before.
Nier Automata.
Nier Automata, yeah. I mean, like, honestly, yeah. Like, this and Ikaruga do the thing of, like, turning into, like, top-down shooter thing.
Ikaruga was so good.
Ikaruga was really good. I think, like, recently I've just been, like, thinking about how good Ikaruga was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a pretty bizarre play because, like, there were moments where I was enjoying myself, but also, like, at the end of it, I was like, damn, that game was hard as fuck. And, like, I think I just want to play, like, Star Fox at this point.
Yeah, it made me want to play Star Fox.
Yeah.
Like Star Fox, I have a much better idea of like how I died and like what's going on. And it's just a much smoother experience. You can barrel roll.
You can barrel
roll. But I think the thing that messed me up the most in this was the frame rate.
Yeah, no, it's same.
Because especially with the obstacles, like we're talking about that cave level, like I don't understand how I could ever get through that level without the rewind function that I used. Yeah. Did you get through that level?
I think I got to the end of it, but do you know how to break in this game?
You can break?
You can break. That's a critical part of it.
I had no idea. Was it B?
I honestly, I don't even remember what the button was. It sounds like you were using the rewind as a similar sort of break.
Essentially, yeah. I was just the rewind was my break.
Because like the first level, you can kind of get through it without doing it. You can just sort of move forward. But in the cave level, you really have to like be careful and not hit shit as much as you do in the first one.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Altered Beast, which is like also a Genesis staple of like there's only 3 or 4 levels in this game, but it is so fucking hard that like you probably will not see the 4th level very often at all.
Good luck getting through them all.
Which is, I was trying to think about this and like I think Sega at the time was really concerned with porting games from the arcade to their home console.
Yeah.
As a way of like look, you don't have to go to the arcade. You can like play those games here.
Yeah, bring the arcade home.
Right. And like that was part of their like kind of marketing ploy there. But I think why I am oftentimes drawn to like the first party SNES games is because it felt like they were offering something that like the arcade couldn't, you know?
Yeah.
Like why Super Mario World feels really good is because they expect people to be able to play that game for long periods of time. And so you can boot the difficulty down like just a little bit, right? The game is still hard, but like they're expecting you to be able to get through the levels rather than like to extend the life of Super Thunderblade. You have to make it so fucking hard that like you couldn't beat it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of those is right or wrong. Or am I saying that like somebody would enjoy one over the other? I think I typically enjoy the SNES model of it. But like, you know, plenty of people love their fucking time with the Genesis games. And I think a lot of them do this, right? Like Altered Beast and this and a lot of games at the time were like, let's make arcade games here, but we're just going to make them hard as fuck and give you, you know, 1 or 2 continues or whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like interesting look at what game designers were doing at the time. Again, this was a launch title for the Genesis. So like 88, 89, depending on if you're in Japan or North America.
I think they've evolved for the better since then.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, interesting to see how like, oh yeah, this was a viable option to extend the life of your game back then. It's just make it fucking hard. And how that just doesn't sit well. It's a cartridge that you have already paid a flat fee for. Whereas in an arcade, it's like, oh, okay, I paid 25 cents to play for like a couple minutes. Okay, that felt worth it.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that, you know, you've already paid the full price for. And like, I want to see what the rest of this game looks like. That's why I used the rewind function. I'm like, I just want to see what this game is offering me. Like, I can get past the first level, but the second level, I'm like, no, this is crazy.
Something else.
This is ridiculous. Yeah, maybe I could get there eventually, but like, I just, you know, it just felt a little unfair at some points, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if there's anything I could have done to get out of that situation besides like 5 seconds ahead, been in a different area of the map.
It very much rewards like memorization of like patterns and like what the level is bringing.
And you know, if that's what it's looking for, right? It's looking for you to be like, okay, I've played this part 10 times already. I know where I'm supposed to be. I know where I'm supposed to be going to not get hit and to not die. So, you know, it's a very different way of playing a game, right?
Yeah.
Definitely out of fashion nowadays, but still, there is still some fun in there, right? It's still fun to, you know, just kind of blindly go through the level and see how far you can get.
Yeah.
By just kind of wheeling and dealing. That's fun.
Yeah, no, totally. It's fun to go in there and just sort of like muck around. I think my appetite for it is just a lot lower than it was, you know, 30 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe my opinion would be different if I was in high school still, like if I was 15 and it was summertime, like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. Let's see what you got.
Part of it is like seeing how high you can jump, right? Like how far can I get in this? How good can I get at this specific game? But definitely like, at least personally, I think I feel like I'm much more interested in seeing a lot of a game rather than seeing how good I can get at one part of a game. Like just seeing like what are you doing with the rest of this thing? What's the complete package and like what are you saying with the game? Yeah. I don't think Super Thunderblade is saying much outside of like piloting a helicopter is cool, right?
That's I think the thesis and the point and the conclusion. Yes.
This owns, right? Like
aren't attack helicopters cool? Yeah.
Isn't the name Super Thunderblade pretty cool? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it is. Great name, top tier.
It just feels like my appetite for that kind of game is pretty low now. And it is definitely offset with games like this where you have modern sensibilities by way of like a rewind or a fast forward or a save state or something like that. Yeah. I think that's a genuinely pretty good way to bring a lot of older games into the current fold, more than like, hey, we remastered the graphics. Like that's all fine and good and it makes it look pretty, but I really would like it if a lot more games had this sort of stuff built into it because like I said, I don't have the time to play Super Thunderblade for 10 hours or whatever it's going to take to get to the third level.
Like I can still appreciate how difficult and challenging the game is without having to just like beat my head against it for 5, 6, 7 hours, however long it takes. Yeah, interesting game. I did like the music.
Music was great. Yeah, I don't have any pulled up, but it was pretty fun. Yeah, like it matched the moment well.
It did. It was attack helicopter music. It was fun. It was driving. It was engaging.
Yeah.
Made use of the soundboard. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. I'd watched a handful of reviews for this game of like people on YouTube who are reviewing the game in like, 2020 or some similar year. It's interesting to hear what people have to say about this stuff. A lot of them, like a lot of reviewers were like, I love this game because it reminds me of blank. They're talking about, like the time that I played this with my friend, or it reminds me when the Sega Genesis launched, or reminds me of a different time or something like that.
When I first ate ice cream.
Yeah. And like, that's all well and good. And I'm certainly not going to yuck that yum, but like, I've never played this game before. And so coming into it without nostalgia is a very different experience. I think just trying to look at it without any sort of sense of nostalgia. And like, we try and do that, I think, with most games. It's hard not to, but like, I think with most of the games and good games, we try to approach it from a perspective, like, what is the value of this now?
Yeah.
In 2022 or whatever. And this one was weird. It was a very weird game for that reason, because like usually there's something that's like very easy, like even Blinks has a cute cat.
Damn. You saying you have nothing to say? You have more good things to say about Blinks than this game?
I also have a thing to say about this one. It's that attack helicopters are cool, but like
sure.
The rest of it is, I don't know. I didn't walk away from it having like a profound, cool time or something like that.
No.
I don't think it's a bad game at all. Like, clearly this is fun. I understand why this was cool at the time. And like, I also can see, like, I get it, right? Like, it's visceral and driving and fun, and like being a helicopter is cool. But I think it's not as like easy to point out the stuff that is very cool in 2022. I think a lot of it depends on like, well, in 1988, this was blah, blah, blah. Like, it depends a lot on that. And it also depends on the UX changes that they've made to rewind and save states and fast forward and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like I just, playing this game and playing those top-down levels, it just felt like maybe this should have just been a top-down game.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, this feels a little bit more smooth. This feels a little bit better. Yeah, why don't we just stick with what's really good that we know of? But I guess they were trying to like push the genre at this time with the 3D graphics and the new hardware and everything like that. But it just felt like it fell a little flat. It didn't quite push things forward in the way that they needed to be, if that makes sense. Whereas like a Star Fox in comparison did.
I'm sure both were impressive for their own ways, and I think Star Fox does feel better in hindsight, at least. Like, I still have fun playing Super Nintendo Star Fox.
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit that like that game is also kind of framey and like doesn't always look very good.
Yes.
But that one, for whatever reason, has stuck with me a little bit more. Yeah, I'm sure like, somebody who bought a Genesis in 1988 would think this looks fucking incredible. But I think as we found over the course of doing 100 of these episodes, like the games that are banking on, isn't this impressive, usually don't age super well.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Because it's only going to be impressive for a little while, right? Like bragging about the size of your map or how many polygons are in the game or how like fucking good something looks. Like that lasts a little while, and it is cool to go back and look at that stuff. I think especially as a relic of like when somebody says Unreal Engine 2 is the most realistic looking video game. Like, okay, it's funny to look at that, but rarely do those games, if they are not also accompanied by like very good gameplay or a very good story or something else, right?
Yeah, it's like you're top right now, but for how long? Once someone else inevitably comes and dethrones you on that, what do you have to stand on then?
And some games do both, right? Like there's plenty of examples of games that are like, look at how beautiful this game is, and also, isn't it fun to jump as Mario? Yes, sure it is. That's still very good. Obviously, I think that this era specifically, I think, does age a little bit better than some of the other ones. Like the 16-bit, 32-bit, like it does still look fun. Like it's cool compared to like, I think some of the Nintendo games, some of like the Atari games and like all that sort of stuff. Like some of those don't look phenomenal, but this stuff does sometimes. So it's interesting to see like what they were banking on. And I think this game was very much banking on like, look at how fucking cool this is.
Yeah.
I didn't walk away from this like dissatisfied or bummed out. I was just like, I think I've had enough of Thunderblade.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, we're done. We're good here.
But it's certainly an interesting play. Like I almost any launch title, I'm like, okay, I'll at least like see what was going on, like what they were putting forth.
They are the most fascinating bunch of games, aren't they?
It's so weird. They're always so strange.
They're little time capsules.
Yeah.
Of like, what did people care about back then?
Yeah, because it's a way, it's like a Rosetta Stone for like what people thought was interesting and what like people might actually be interested, because those two things aren't always the same, right?
Yeah.
like what a company thinks. Like Condemned Criminal Origins was a launch title for the Xbox, and like that game was really weird, and like I don't know that it sold particularly well. So it's interesting to see like what Microsoft thought would be like a big deal, right, when things are coming out.
Spooky police procedurals. Who knew?
I mean, I like that.
I'm into it.
You know, Dynasty Warriors for the PlayStation 2.
That's just a system seller. Was it the original? The OG Dynasty Warriors was a
2, actually. The original Dynasty Warriors is a fighting game.
Oh, no shit. Like a 2D fighter?
Yeah, I think it's actually a 3D fighter.
Oh, 3D fighter. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird as hell. It's so strange that they made that shift and never looked back.
On the so released on the PlayStation then?
I think it was a PlayStation game, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
When I bought my PlayStation 2, I apologize if I told this story in the pod before, but I walked into I think it was just a GameStop with my dad, and he's like, what game is going to show off what this hardware can really do? And the GameStop employee pointed me to Dynasty Warriors 2.
That's a tech demo, baby. Look at all the people we can put on the screen. It was a lot of people.
Anyway, yeah, it's interesting to look at where was the industry at through the lens of these launch titles? And I think for Sega specifically, it was, we want to take everything that's in the arcade and put it in your home console, because that is like the good value that we're bringing to you through this home console.
Sure. Yeah. No,
which like we said, is it's a weird value proposition in 2022, because it is just as easy to play an arcade version of it at home as it is as on your like Sega Genesis or your Sega Genesis emulator or whatever.
Yeah. Arcade games are never as fun at home, you know?
Yeah, very rarely is it like, wow, I'm so glad this is in my home and not at the arcade.
Yeah, like you need the cabinet experience.
Especially for Silent Scope.
Especially for games that have light guns.
Anyway, fun game. I like Super Thunderblade.
It was fun. It's silly fun.
It's silly fun. That is true. I feel like that's a very good description of what's going on in here. It's a silly fun game. Hello. If you would like to do anything at us on the internet, you can go to www. Do anything at us. You can go to www.podtimism.com. There you can find links to our Twitter. You can find links to our email. You can type in a video game to see if we've covered it. I haven't gone back and gotten every single video game in that database yet, so chill. But we'll get there. You can also listen to the episodes there if you prefer to do that. And not quite yet, but I'm building a little widget so that you can suggest a game if you want to.
Hell yeah.
So that's a thing. So yeah, if you want to get in contact with us, that's the easiest way. Next, Scout Out of the Week. Thank you, Scout Wilkinson, for your hard work on this cool art that we have for our podcast. Yeah. What else to say about the greatest piece of art that I've ever seen?
It's pretty amazing.
It's incredible. She did it again. She's always doing great work. I saw some cool new commissions that she just put out. Incredible, good stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, more podcasting from Scout on the horizon.
Oh. Is that a little foreshadowing?
A little teaser. Thank you, Scout, for your hard work. Also, I think her commissions are still open. I think there's like 1 or 2 more slots. Get up in there if they still are. She is at ko-fi/humblegoat, or there's a .com in there somewhere. I'm sure you know how to figure that out. You've been on the internet. If you want to help out this show, you can do it 2 ways. You can review it on your podcatcher of choice, or you can show it to a buddy, and you can say, this podcast is cool, and I think it's neat, and the co-hosts are nice fellas. That part was just me. You
nice
don't have to
fellas.
say that part. Nice fellas.
Nice fellers.
Nice fellers. Finally, hey, thank you for listening to this podcast. We appreciate you being here and choosing to listen to this one over the mountain of other video game podcasts that you don't need to listen to any of them, but you've chosen to do this one. So thank you. Appreciate it. Love making the show, and love when anybody joins in that process, I guess, by listening. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's hot. And I've drank 2 Sierra Nevadas, and here we are.
Need I say more?
Need I say more? David.
Yes.
Do you have any video game wisdom for us this week?
I do, Chase.
What is it?
It's have a good friend.
Have a good friend.
Have a good friend to play good games with.
Yeah.
It makes the world a little bit better.
It does. You also could make a good friend if you play video games together with
sure
them.
could, yeah.
I think that's kind of the origin story of this friendship.
Many could say that. What is the origin story of our friendship? This is something I did. Were we playing dinosaurs together? Was that it?
I believe so. We met in preschool, played dinosaurs together. I don't remember the said dinosaur experience.
I just remember I was big into dinosaurs in preschool. So if we were hanging out, we were probably playing dinosaurs.
Yeah, I love that. You gave particularly good hugs at the time, if I remember correctly.
I'm an A+ hugger, is what I've been told.
You've always been slightly taller than I am, like pretty consistently, and so I feel like you could really wrap me up.
Did I make you feel safe? It
was great, yeah. Like, because you get hugs from like adults. Those are different hugs than like a colleague of yours, a preschool colleague.
We were colleagues, weren't we? Co-workers.
Yeah, we were co-workers. I was working hard on those dinosaurs.
Working hard in the milk mines. Questionable.
The milk mines.
Questionable.
Yeah.
That could be construed many different ways.
I like that. Yeah, I think I do like the milk mines.
You're into it.
Yeah.
Instead of going with a pickaxe, you're just going with a pail. And there's just like places to milk things from throughout the mines.
The imagery is getting worse. I think I might be out on the milk mines.
What do you... I hit a nice vein of milk over here. This one's fresh.
Oh, how? What's the mechanics?
Don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, I think I'm getting too...
Just let them sit. Let them be their thing.
Oh boy, yeah, I think I'm a little bit too deep in the milk mines.
Yeah, they are a thing that defies logic. So don't try to apply a keen eye to this. Just let it be.
This is getting Cthulhian pretty fast.
I think it was always Cthulhian, Chase.
It's never not. Jesus Christ. Great. Hey.
Yes.
This has been great.
It's been a fantastic podcast today.
This has been fun.
Topcast.
This is Topcast. Hey, we'll see you, the listener. Now, David and I both turn to the camera. We'll see you next week for a different episode. I think probably about dark.
Longingly.
We've been in the milk mines. We have some dark things to report back. I think we're talking about Dark Cloud next time. So come back and hang out for that one.
It's been months since I've seen another human soul. All of us miners down there, we aren't human anymore.
Don't open milk inside.
That's the vibe.
Goodbye.
See ya.